What's up, guys? Mike Patrick, and really quickly in this video, I want to talk about how I'm starting to second guess intense exercise, okay? I'm going to tell you why. Look, we just had a recent incident with a young man. His name was Caleb White. He just passed from sudden cardiac arrest, okay? A 17-year-old senior star basketball player in the state of Alabama, the #1 player in the state, just passed, I think yesterday, a sudden cardiac arrest, okay? Cardiac arrest. And we know we just had a situation with, I believe the kid's name was Keontae Johnson. He was a player he's in the NBA now. He was a player at Kansas State last year. Then you got, we all know about Bronny James just a few weeks ago. And the thing about it, now mind you, those, like anything else, those are the more publicized examples, you know what I mean? But there's probably been a whole lot more incidents, okay? Those are just, like I said, the bigger names, okay? And people that people feel like it's worthwhile to publicize their incidents, okay? Look, this is the thing. I was wondering, man, like I already got videos. I have a video on my channel. You can check it out, where I might have did it a few months ago now, where I was talking about, matter of fact, Lisa Marie Presley. Her death had inspired me to do that video, and I was kind of talking about its title along the lines of why are so many people having heart issues. Like it seems to be more prevalent now, you know what I mean, within the past, I don't know, 10 years or so, and now really picking up over the last few years, you know, yeah, maybe few to a couple years. Now, this is the thing. I was thinking, and very young people, you know what I mean? Even Lisa Marie Presley wasn't that old. I think she was in her 50s. You see what I'm saying? And then you talk about the other three guys were obviously in shape, Division I, either Division I athletes or Division I caliber athletes. I think the guy I'm talking about now, who just passed yesterday, was like one of the top recruits in the country. So he's about to go to a Division I school next year. So the thing is, guys, you talking about 17, 18, 20-somethings. You see what I mean? And even if you as young as 40-something, 50-something, okay? I spoke on energetic changes, but I don't want to make this video that type of video. But even though it is, I believe it is very relevant. But let's just keep it, you know what I mean? Let's just keep it normal, so to speak. You know what I mean? COVID. I talked about in the video I did on Keontae Johnson a few years back, or a couple years back now. That video's on my channel, and talking about how if you had COVID, the reason why people got to kind of chill. This was at the beginning of COVID, and people was really antsy and getting real frustrated because they just wanted to get back to life. You know what I mean? So that includes sports and things like that. And I was talking about how with COVID being new, you don't know how this may affect the body, you know what I mean, long term, or you just don't know how what appears to be subtle, how it's affecting the body, even though, you know, it appears to be subtle. A person may just have COVID and they don't seem like they're really down bad, sick, and things like that. But we know that COVID affected people in so many different ways. You know what I mean? Some people had issues with their taste and smelling and things like that. Some people didn't. Some people didn't have any symptoms, asymptomatic. Some people ended up on a respirator in the hospital. You know what I mean? And then I think it was psychological issues with COVID. They was starting to tie it already. They was starting to tie it to so many different things. You know what I mean? And so, and I think they started to tie it to myocarditis and things like that. So the point I'm trying to make is, with some of these younger guys, even if they just had COVID, you know what I mean? If they just had it, and maybe, you know, because they are young and healthy, you know, they might then display no symptoms that had them down bad to the naked eye. But who knows how it could have changed their organs? Because apparently that was another thing, is that they say it ravaged the organs, you know what I mean, in different ways and to different people. So, like, you could just have had it, you know what I mean, thought you got over it, but you could have been changed from the time you had that COVID. You could have been forever changed. You see what I'm saying? Your heart could have been forever changed, or any other organ or anything like that. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. Now, two, I want to talk about how young people tend to eat and things like that, especially young athletes. I've been there and done it and things like that. We think a lot of times that, we can eat anything, and we do eat anything. We might not come up in households that stress the importance of healthy eating and things like that, and we just kind of eat wherever, especially being young and athletic and things like that. We just want fuel any kind of way, and we just want what tastes good, and we put it back in our body and things like that, and we don't think nothing of it. But just like how we already think we know, like any other muscle, we know that your muscles, if you've been lifting weights and stuff and you want your muscles to grow, you know that you need protein and things like that. Your heart is a muscle too, and it's certain things it needs, and we just can't be eating any kind of way. I can't prove this, and nobody ever tied this in, and it seemed to never ever be a problem in the past, like talking about it worth, I'll almost say like almost to epidemic levels that is happening now, at the rate that it's happening now. So we didn't talk about it at all. But it's certain things now, man, with post-COVID and things like that, and for people who are into spirituality and who pay attention to earth changes and things like that and stuff like that, man, we have to be even more careful. You know what I mean? What we put in our body, how often, and especially when we're doing very stressful, taxing things. See, we have been taught. That's why somewhere in the title of this video is going to be something along the lines of, I'm starting to second guess strenuous exercise. So including myself, you see what I'm saying? We all have come up under the idea of strenuous exercise actually being a good thing. You fit, you healthy, you can get out there and you can really, bust it out, and put a lot of stress on your heart and your lungs and whatever. And you got the capacity to do it. And we think that means, we've been taught to think that means you're in shape and, it shows what you're capable of. But at the end of the day, this stuff is, you constantly playing a high cardiovascular sport like basketball and things like that, man. And you playing it for all these years. You know what I mean? Like guys like him, I'm sure he's been playing basketball ever since he was a little boy. You know what I mean? 6, 7 years old. You know what I mean? And you putting that strain on your heart. You know what I mean? Getting your heart up to a maximum heart rate that often. You know what I mean? If you think about it, man, our heart, like we don't sit back and think about how sensitive and how fragile our heart is, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like our heart, we gotta, your heart for as long as you live, your heart has to be beating, pumping, second after second. You know what I mean? And things like that. Different heart rates, putting different stress on your heart depending on the exercise and the strenuousness of the exercise or whatever. And things like that, man. And you never know if at one day sudden cardiac arrest, your heart just can't take it no more. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, now I believe it's more important because apparently COVID does have an effect on your organs and things. And then, like I said, if you're not eating right, you young and you just kind of eating whatever and stuff, and you're not giving your heart all the different nutrients that it needs, and you're eating a heart unhealthy diet, you know what I mean? A lot of fat and cholesterol. And I'm not necessarily saying that fat and cholesterol is a bad thing, but if you're not, like I said, everything is a balance. And if you're not doing certain things and you're doing an excess of other things, you see what I mean? Because, yeah, cholesterol ain't a bad thing, but a lot of people don't necessarily get enough sunlight to convert that cholesterol into vitamin D. So a lot of people do have a bunch of excess cholesterol built up in they arteries and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then you're going out, you're doing strenuous, exercising and things like that, getting your heart rate up, and you might not, that heart muscle, and certain things might be hereditary. You're not eating right, putting all that stress on your body. Now, post-COVID, you know what I mean? Who knows what something like that could have been did to your organs, even if you don't know that you had COVID. Some people never got tested for COVID and probably had it. I'm a firm believer that almost the whole population probably didn't had COVID, whether you knew it or not. You see what I'm saying? Some people just ain't get to a point where they had to get tested for it. You see what I'm saying? And they might have been asymptomatic and they had no reason to go out and get tested and things like that. But you don't know how that you might have had COVID and how it could have affected you. You see what I'm saying? I even think about certain things that changed with me post-COVID. You see what I'm saying? You know, sometimes mentally and things like that. Who knows if COVID has something to do with that? You know what I mean? So that's just my point, man. And so with strenuous, you know, I would never be able to prove this. I'm probably way ahead on this. Like a lot of stuff, I'm probably way ahead on the idea that perhaps, I mean, maybe it's other people that said it, or doctors or somebody that study and probably stand by it, you know. But, you know, I'm starting to wonder, man, is now post-COVID, you know what I mean? And with the, you know, the time and space that we in now, energetically, for people who are into things like that, and the different pulses, you know, coming from the sun or coming from the earth, and how our bodies and our electrical system is connected to everything else. Everything is electrical, you know what I mean? And how that may be affecting things, man. And the stuff that we put into our bodies and stuff, starting to, because intuitively, the thing about it too, is because, you know, it's quite funny how intuitively, you know, lately I've been guided to not be doing a whole lot of strenuous exercise. I make sure I get I get my walking in. Yeah, I'll take off, you know, with my kids and stuff here and there. I'll take off and do a sprint to get my heart rate up, you know, and to do something that's hit and to still keep my bones and my muscles and stuff, you know what I mean, in shape to a point where I know I can still, you know, give out a good burst and things. But as far as really just, you know, day in and day out, like how I used to be, you know what I mean, strenuous exercise and strenuous cardio, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, you know, I just intuitively, I haven't been led to want to do that, you know what I mean? And perhaps it is too much on the heart and things like that, man. And that we have to be careful. But R.I.P. to that young man, Caleb. I believe his name was Caleb Smith. And I'll definitely have his name right in the title. You know what I mean? R.I.P. to him, man. It's something to think about now, man, because we all got children and stuff. I know we can't live a life. We can't do nothing. And still, when it comes to a ratio, out of all the student athletes there is, right, it's still a small number in comparison to how many student athletes, you know, that it is. But we can say that it is happening a lot more often. And then, you know, like I said, these are just the more highly publicized, you know, issues or situations. You know what I mean? But you know, it's probably happening a whole lot more often. At the end of the day, you know, we can look at it like, you know, well, the ratio is still a small chance of it actually happening to me or to somebody I love. But we all say that until it does happen to you or somebody that you love. So if something is going on that we can somewhat try to prevent certain things, then we can, because that's just heartbreaking. It's for something like that to happen, especially that way. The reason why it's so devastating is because it's totally unexpected. You know what I mean? So, for example, if you got a child out here, you know, they enter the streets and they do certain things, they live a lifestyle that the karma of that lifestyle is not far-fetched to, you know, to believe that it's, you know, that it's very possible they can end up in prison or dead or something. You see what I mean? But so on the flip side, you know, or if you got somebody that, you know, is obese and eat bad and, you know, it's hereditary to have heart problems, then you can it doesn't surprise you as much if something like that happens. But when you got somebody that is literally an all-American athlete, you know what I mean, that young, an all-American athlete, to their knowledge, I'm sure the family didn't have any warnings or any indication that he probably had heart issues. And something like that just happened to somebody that was practically probably looked at like a Superman to some degree. You see what I mean? And then for something like that to happen, you know, that's devastating. So hopefully, well, you know, hopefully this was an informative video, guys. Peace.